Welcome to the Worship Leader Toolbox podcast, where our mission is to equip and encourage worship leaders and teams in practical components of local church leadership. We're so thrilled to have you listening to our podcast, and our prayer is that it's helpful for you and your teams. If you have any thoughts or questions, feel free to reach out to us at worshipleadertoolbox.com, and we'd also be honored to have you hit subscribe wherever you're listening to us. Heading now to today's episode with Tim Price.
Well, hello, my name is Tim Price from the Worship Leader Toolbox podcast. I'm so thankful today to have you along as we talk here for a few moments with Kyle Barr. And Kyle, glad you're on the podcast today.
Thanks for having me, Tim. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to jump into this resource that you have.
Yeah, just a little bit. So I've mainly been in ministry for the most part of my life, actually. And I'm a worship leader at the heart. I do a lot of that here at my local church, and then we also have a prayer room that I lead worship in a couple times a week. I'll work for a ministry full-time, help look over the finances for the ministry, and also we have a school that we aim to just train young people in the presence of God, identity, worship, just lots of different things just to get them ready to be an impact, wherever they are.
So this isn't like a grade school, it's like a ministry school.
Yes, it is a ministry school.
Is it mostly young adults or just a mix, or what is the...
Anybody can be a part of the school. We've been doing currently a part-time school to give way for anyone to come out one day a week in the evenings, just to get some training, some ministry experience, and just encounter God, in the midst of worship.
Huh. That is pretty cool. How long has this been going?
Oh gosh. Well, we actually we're a ministry from Virginia, and we just moved to Florida. So here in Florida, we've been doing it for just a year, but when we were in Virginia, we had a full-time, school that was operating for 8-9 years.
Huh.
So we're just kind of reestablishing ourselves here in Florida.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, do you play, when you're leading worship, do you play an instrument?
Yes, I play piano. I can't play acoustic guitar, but I definitely am better and prefer piano. I've been playing piano since I was 7 years old, so I've got a lot more skill and experience than with guitar.
Yeah, that's cool. What is the doesn't it seem to you like there's a pendulum every handful of, seasons where it's guitar-driven leaders and keyboard-driven leaders and guitar-driven leaders? Or
it is funny, right? I mean, I even went through that myself. Like I said, I started out only playing guitar for years and years and years, and then I kind of fell back into my real first love of just playing piano.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, glad to have you on here today to talk about this resource that you have, and this is a app for worship leaders and teams. And so, tell us briefly what this really is. What is the Worship Freq?
Yeah, so Worship Freq at its core, its main feature is that it helps singers and worship leaders figure out what key best fits their vocal range of any song. So it has a huge database of songs through praise charts, and plus I've been adding to it because, people can find the random, obscure songs or choruses or things that they want to lead that might not exist yet fully. So there's a way to add songs as well, your own songs. But when you look up a song, it'll use your vocal range that you entered in through the onboarding process and then calculate what key would best fit you for power and then also comfort, because, we don't always want to maybe hit the highest part of our ranges when we're leading a song. And also it provides the congregation key for you to just have in mind. I know that's helpful, but I mean, just to be an honest voice, I don't always keep that in mind either when I'm leading worship, but it's good to remember that just in case of, you're picking a key that might be too high for a general congregational member to sing, you might want to lower it a little bit. So it just helps you do that within the app.
So that is pretty amazing. I did download the app and just took a look at it, and it's kind of it's one of those things that sometimes is the back burner, but is a huge part. And I have found that a lot of modern worship songs that you find in the recordings from the awesome churches that crank out the music are super high. Like,
Hmm.
why is that? It's easier to sing when there's more people, and what other reasons? I mean, it just seems like it's just so high.
Yeah, I don't have a good answer for you, but I agree with you. I mean, everyone has a different, range that feel comfortable in singing. So that is something that happens a lot. And then if you have a not as experienced or skilled worship leader, they'll, automatically want to do it in the key that they heard it in or the original song, and they're just reaching too much that if you lowered the key just a little bit, it would fit them a lot better. So it helps them grow in learning their own voice as well.
Yeah. And I also like your point that we have to think about the congregation's ability to sing the song, since that's our primary goal is helping them to sing. So
Exactly, because if they're not singing, um, I mean, there can be lots of factors, obviously, right? It's not just one factor, but I mean, a key factor that we do overlook a lot of times is, are we singing songs that are way out of their range? No wonder they
yeah,
can't sing, you know?
that's really true. So I can probably guess this, but what inspired you to start an app like this?
Well, I was hitting a problem for myself, and I was seeing a problem within my local church as well that I wanted to address within the app. For myself, being someone that leads worship quite regularly, I do a lot of a variety of songs, and even for myself, I'll quickly forget, oh, what key did I do that song in? Especially if it's an older song or something that I'm bringing back that I haven't done, recently. I'll even forget. I don't remember what key I did that song in. So I wanted to create a resource where you could save, like a filing system basically. That's a quick, you can look it up quickly and see, oh, I did that song in this key as a reference tool, personally. And then within my church, I found that we have a big rotation of singers, so we like to empower, everyone to lead and grow in that leadership gifting. And so when maybe you're a newer person that's leading for the first time, they come into practice and they have no idea what key to do the song in, or they just assume again that either just go with the original, key, or they heard someone else do it in this key and they're like, oh, that's perfect for me. And then we start practicing and realize, you know what, this isn't really working for you. We need to figure out a new key to do this song in. And then we waste time in practice trying to figure that out, where, with a resource like the app, they can come more prepared to rehearsal knowing, hey, this is the few key ranges, that would fit my voice really well. So that's kind of where this all came from, those two instances.
That's pretty cool. And I've experienced that a million times. And I've been the culprit most often where I'm sitting there at worship teams. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. In my office, this key was so good. Well, now I'm sitting down here on the
Mm,
stage trying to belt it out, and it needs to be up at least one, if not two. And can you all
hmm.
do that okay? Well, that does waste a lot of time, and it's hard for people to prepare. It's really
Right.
a benefit to everybody for the key to be correct from 2 weeks out
And
before the event.
right, and it also helps the musicians, right? Because then they're not having, especially if they're not greatly skilled in being able to play in several different keys, to know ahead of time. Oh, it's definitely. I mean, things change in the moment, and that's kind of the nature too of what we do, unfortunately. But to be as prepared as possible and know, hey, this is the key we're gonna aim for in rehearsal, instead of like, oh, on the fly having to switch it, and then they're not really comfortable playing in that new key.
Yeah, definitely. And they don't have the capo version, and then you're running around doing this and doing that and trying to get everything printed
Right.
off or uploaded.
Exactly.
So
Yep. Save time.
here's another thing where I could see it saving time is the modern anthem song that starts low and everybody wants to jump to the octave above. And I'm not being cynical here with all these new songs, but it seems like almost every fourth big song is a low starter and a high ender. And I could just see, I mean, I haven't actually utilized the app to say, oh, is this going to be the right one? But I could see that helping with that to know the low end and the top end.
Right. Exactly. Because I feel like I even get tired of doing that. It's kind of ingrained in our culture almost of like every song has to go that way. But if you're doing that, with every song that you're leading, then
Yeah.
that's gonna just wear off quickly. So with the app, not only do you get, with the power key that you're given, that key is probably the key that's going to allow you to jump that octave, because you're hitting the top of your range and, you start the octave down, then you'll be able to jump.
Yeah.
But it also will give you that comfort, that sweet spot, that middle range of your voice to where you won't have to, well, you can't jump out of it because it'd be way too high then at that point. So it gives you that variety of, hey, with this song, I want to be able to do that, and this song, maybe I should use the other key
Yeah,
suggestion.
the normal key that just allows you just to stay kind of flat sort of the whole time, like the same thing. So
Yeah, exactly.
so this is pretty intriguing, and before I ask the next question, just tell us what people look up to find this thing. Tell us real quick how people
So,
find it.
yeah. So it is available with Android on Google Play and iOS Apple. And you just have to enter in the name of the App Worship Freq, and it should pop right up for you.
And when you see Worship Freak, you realize it's spelled differently because
Oh,
it's
good,
it's for
good catch.
frequency.
Yes, exactly. So it's FREQ. Thank you for that.
Yeah, that's creative. And so it's always interesting to me. There's a lot of new ways that people are helping to solve problems. But is this like your thing? Like, have you ever created an app before? Like, are you a tech guy?
I am not. I mean, I am just slightly techie, I would say, knowledgeable, but I had never, ever, ever in my life created an app before. So it was quite a learning curve for me. I actually got help going through a program that helps people with ideas create apps. So I've learned a ton through the process, and now I have that skill to actually, of course, being a creative, it's always hard to turn things off. So of course, I have all these new ideas turning within me of, oh, I could create an app for this and that.
Yeah.
So I plan to do it. It's just a matter of the timing to get it done. So we'll see.
Yeah.
So look for more in
Uh-huh.
the near future.
So what do you have a website that kind of spells out some of what you do, or is it just this app that people go to?
It's just the app that people go to.
Okay. So you look
Yep.
up Worship Freak, or FREQ, and you kind of sing into it, and then pick your voice range. It picks it and tells you, and then what's the end product? Like you're just in and you start looking for things. You set up an
Yeah.
account.
Once you are in the app, you can, on the homepage, just put in any song that you're curious to see, the results for, and it immediately brings you over and gives you all the data that you need, and then you can save it into your own song library. There's also within the app just resources that I've put together to help worship leaders and singers grow in their voice, like warm-ups and tips, and even a little bit of music theory, ear training, harmony, and rhythm. So I've just compiled, tools and things like that that'll help them continue to grow in your
Yep.
voice.
That's cool. So there's a free level and then there's a paid level. Is that right?
Correct, yes. Oh, one thing I do want to mention that I think is a pretty cool idea, if I do say so myself, with the app is if you're a worship leader and you have, several singers on your team, you can get your team to send their vocal profiles to you through the app. It's just a simple, you put in the main worship leader's username that they created, and it'll send it automatically. So when the worship leader then looks up a song, you can click the icon for your team, and it'll list out every team member. And when you look up a song, it'll show you what keys best fit their vocal ranges, which can save tons of time with preparing, set lists and things. If you're like, I think I want this team member scheduled and I want them to lead this part of this song, what key do I do it in? You don't have to ask them. You can just look at the app and see it right there in front of you.
Yeah. I could, you don't know how many times, and oh, actually, you probably do know how many times, but the number of times worship leaders send text to people and say, "Hey, is C a good key for this song? Let me know."
Exactly.
Well, then it takes
Yep.
about 20
And
hours
then
for them to get back because they got life going on. They can't sit down at a keyboard somewhere and belt it out and figure it out. And so it's
right.
endless loop.
Or they might not even be able to play an instrument, so they have no idea. So I know worship leaders where in this scenario, they have to then spend time of their day then recording different keys for them to say, oh, would this work? Would this work? And it's just an ongoing just wasting of time, which the app then actually solves that problem for you.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Well, I appreciate you being on the podcast today for worship leaders who are hearing this. And again, we are taking a look at this app, Worship Freq, and helps you determine a key. And I have Kyle Barr as a guest on here today from Florida. And so we're thankful for your time. And we're going to wind down here in just a moment. But just a side question, aside from the app,
Sure.
and that is, there seems to be a lot of people, and I may have this theme going partly because it's in my own life too, but there seems to be a lot of worship leaders who are also doing this or doing that. I mean, I just wonder your take on it. Is that because worship leaders have a little more time in their flexible week to sort of say, hey, I'm going to do this side thing? Or is it because there's, worship leaders don't get paid $1 million, so we sort of do these side things, or we just have a creative bone in our body? What is the deal with almost every worship leader I run into has a side project kind of going on to help the greater church?
Well, I mean, I think obviously there's a lot of factors that can come into this to answer your question. But I think a lot of it is they are just volunteering their time. I mean, it depends on the situation, right? Whether that's like their full-time thing or not. But I think it is just having the time and the creativity flowing. And, you have just these side ideas and things that you do want to, accomplish to, like you said, like help the greater church and everything. And so why not go for it? As long as it's obviously not like detracting from your responsibilities and duties, as worship leader and serving at your local church, which I do think that is really important to be present and available, in every capacity there. But I think it's awesome that, I feel like, the Lord, our God, He is the creator, so we are naturally creative. So I think it is just a testimony of Him working through us and just generating these creative ideas of things to accomplish, like for the kingdom. So I say go for it and do it.
That's really good. And somebody's got to be the one to help create it, and some other people are just going to kind of sort of be happy not creating stuff. They're just going to fall. Exactly. They're going to fall into the groove and use gifts in other ways in life and keep things more whatever the opposite of that is. Well, it's great to meet you, Kyle. And to all our listeners, thank you for being a part of our podcast today and our ministry. Looking forward to connecting with you and seeing you soon. And we'll hope to run into each other again, Kyle.
You never know.
Yep. All right. Blessings.
Thanks again. Thanks, you too.
Thanks again for joining us. If you have any questions, you can find out more about our ministry by going to worshipleadertoolbox.com. You can also take a quick moment to request access to the Facebook community Worship Leader Toolbox. We'd love to connect there and have you connect with others. As a reminder, we try and share a new podcast episode 2 times a month, most often on Thursday, and we look forward to joining with you next time.